it's time to sharpen up those edges and grease up your chains.
We are going to live it up with mountain life. Dropping in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's up, mountain lifers? Welcome to the month of May, and welcome to the Live It Up with Mountain Life podcast. My name is Feet Banks, and first off, I want to apologize to you all because it feels like we had a bit of a delay between pods this past month. Usually we like to drop a new convo every couple weeks, but in April, yeah. Can we blame tax season? Yes, we can. So let's do that. Taxes stole an entire podcast from us all. Go figure. But we're here now, and it feels like spring, it feels like summer, even on some days. And that's fitting because today on the show, we're taking off the ski boots and sliding into the running shoes because Jazmine Lowther is on the show. Jazmine is an ultra runner, a rock climber, an all-around mountain athlete, and also a scientist, which always gets me stoked. But before we jump into that, let's hear from our longtime podcast partners over at Jack Wolfskin, makers of sustainable outdoor clothing, gear, and footwear. For almost 40 years, the Jack Wolfskin name and paw print have been a symbol of their trailblazing spirit and regard for nature. Inspired by an expedition in northern Canada in 1981, they've led the pack with innovative, eco-conscious technologies, a commitment to social responsibility, and forward-thinking outdoor apparel and equipment designs. Now, if you haven't seen the Jack Wolfskin paw print before, it's because they've just only completed their newest den here in North America. Jack Wolfskin will see you in the wild, wherever that is for you. Okay, let's talk about running for a second, because running is one of the more democratic outdoor activities. You don't need too much fancy equipment, there are no lift tickets or team fees, and you don't really need to travel to do it. It's nice, for sure, but not super essential. And that might be why running, and particularly trail running and ultra running, have been more and more popular over the past 10, 15 years. There's no $7,000 bike required, no $300 lift ticket, no $1,000 rack, no inflating, no weighting, maybe just a bit of stretching, and away you go. And most people, even if you live in a city, you can get outside and run usually pretty close to your home. And that's cool, and kind of rare, really, among the sports and activities we usually cover here in mountain life. For those that aren't familiar with the term ultra running, it's basically just a run that is longer than the traditional marathon, which is 26 miles. So there's definitely variety with distances and formats and even the terrain that the runners go across. But generally, ultra races seem to be like 50 or 100 kilometer or sometimes miles. And ultra runners will also face a long, grueling trail and try to set the fastest known time just for fun. Like what would take me, or probably you, 2 or 3 days of hiking over and through and around mountains, these ultra runners will do in 3 to 4 hours. It's no joke. And our guest today in that world is Elite, sometimes known as the Gazelle, probably because she's fast and nimble, not because she grazes on grasslands and can grow antlers out of her head. Jazmine Lowther is born and raised British Columbian, now based out of Canmore, Alberta, and currently a member of the North Face team. She's an exceptional rock climber, sport or trad, skier, mountaineer, and mountain biker. But since taking her running more seriously in 2019, she's kind of been crushing it. In 2022, she showed up at a 100-kilometer race called the Canyons and set a course record. Then she went to Europe and placed 4th in one of the biggest and most competitive 100-kilometer races on the planet. Jazmine also writes about training, nutrition, women's health, motivation, and more. And in case that's not enough, she's also a plant biologist who's used to spending weeks on end isolated in total nature. So let's skip to it. Here's me talking to Jazmine Lowther. Jazmine, the Gazelle, how are you doing?
Good morning. I'm well. Thank you, Feet. It's so great to be here.
I kind of want to jump right into it. You're an all-around athlete, mountain athlete, climbing, skiing, but it seems like your focus, or you've been making a lot of waves in running and long distance running, especially. I wonder what's going through your head when you're in the middle of these massive 100-kilometer or 100-mile runs. What are your what's your thought process over this, grueling journey?
Jumping straight into it, eh? Love it. Yeah, no, oftentimes it's like, why am I doing this? There are those races definitely where it hits you a bit more, or you're just in that pain cave, chiseling away, grinding it out, one foot in front of the other for hours and hours, whether it's 10 or 16 hours or 24 hours. So yeah, I do need to have those whys of why do I put myself through that suffer fest? And sometimes it is a brutal suffer fest. But there are the times where I'm fully just pinching myself, being like, holy crap, I've been running for X amount of hours over 5 mountains, and it's crazy beautiful and stunning places across the world, whether it's in Spain or France or right here in Canada. And yeah, it's a massive privilege, really, and it feels like a huge gift and something to honor.
When
So
you're in these beautiful places, and do you ever feel like, oh, I wish I could just slow down and appreciate this? Or are you able to still take it in, even though you're going at speed and I guess have to be pretty focused on where you're putting your feet and stuff? Does it ever feel like you miss out, or are you still able to appreciate the same as if you were hiking?
yeah, no, that's a great question, and that is something that I have been thinking about more and more lately. And yeah, it's a little bit of both, I think, where with running, you are very in tune with the flow of the trail, of the rises and downs of going up and down mountains. And it does put you in this like connected state, or the flow state, which is what a lot of trail runners chase. It's like this euphoric
Right.
zone, that's quite beautiful to feel. But yeah, I do think sometimes we capture a lot of like the panoramas around us, but yeah, you might be zooming through it a little bit at a higher speed, kind of, it's similar to mountain biking where, yeah, you are going at a little bit of a higher speed, but I always argue you get to see more terrain, more things
Right.
like that. But
Because you're going
yeah,
100 kilometers or more.
yeah, in a day.
That, that flow state, it's in the last 15 years or a decade, it's been really, I mean, it's always been there, but it's been talked about a lot more in the outdoor sports. Is it for running, is it a similar flow state that you would have to a rock climb where you're so tuned in and obviously moving at an entirely different speed, but is it a similar flow or is it different for you?
Yeah, it's similar for sure. I think it's again similar to rock climbing. It's just when you're so in the present, and your body is just, it knows where to go, and whether you're on a rock and you're moving on the rock, you're feeling it, you're so connected to that wall that you are on.
Yeah.
And then similarly with running, yeah, it's like the curves of the trail, and feeling the dirt beneath your feet, and you're smelling the scents of the forest, and you're hearing the birds around you, and that's when just real life, or the rat race of life just melts away from you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is always
Yeah.
a good thing. When you're not thinking about your taxes, you're doing something
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Oh my God, yes.
Don't get me started.
Yeah.
I did hear that you once, as a younger person, lost a race because you had to stop and tie your shoes.
Yeah.
Tell me
Yeah.
about that. How old were you? What was going on?
Oh man, I must have been like 6 years old. I probably threw a fit. I probably had like my first breakdown. And yeah, it's funny because I did cross country as a kid, and I I would always compare my times to the boys, even though we weren't allowed to like run against them. Um, and make sure that I was like still beating them or on par with them. But there was this one other girl that at all the cross country meets, whenever she was there and I was there, she was like my biggest contender. And of course, this one race, yeah, I had both my shoelaces were just flopping the whole way. And I think finally at the last stretch, I um, knelt down and tied them back up, and then she was ready and she went ahead and she won, so she got to get first place, the taste of that once, which was great. It gave me a good lesson, and be humble, and always be on your toes, things like that. So
Funny. That's awesome. I didn't realize it was when you were so young. You're
yeah.
you're a born and raised BC girl,
Yes.
coming out of Nelson, I believe.
Yeah. Good
Do
old
you guys have
Nelson.
the milk run when you were a kid? Are you old enough? Do they still do the milk run at school?
I think that they did do the milk run. We definitely had Terry Fox run.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Like where
huge
you
for
just
that.
run and then crush a carton of milk at the end? It seems so strange.
Yeah, maybe we didn't have that part.
We,
Yeah, yeah.
maybe they stopped. I'm substantially older than you, but I remember
Okay.
doing that as a kid and being like, why are like milk isn't really what I want right now, but it's cold.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is one of your do you have tricks that you'll share about, that sort of thing, staying energized, hydrated on the trail while you're hauling ass across the land?
Oh, heck yeah. Yeah. No, I share it with people all the time. I mean, I remember when I got into ultra running, you're just kind of like a deer caught in the headlights, like, what do I do? What do I need?
Yeah.
I need what? I need like electrolytes, and I need like liquid sugar. It's basically like sugar water that you're feeding yourself, because you need that rapid, like,
Hummingbird
sucrose,
juice almost,
yeah,
right?
fructose, glucose, all that good stuff that gets into your bloodstream as fast as possible. So yeah, no, you do need to get, I mean, people are now pushing the envelope in terms of like how much you can absorb within an hour. So it can be upwards of 300 to 400 calories an hour, which, yeah, whether that's through gels or liquid, it kind of depends on the race that you're doing, and whether it's super hot out, cold, how intense you're pushing yourself. All of that can factor into what sort of foods you want, from super liquid to like gels to maybe like gummies, all the way up to like some super solid food.
Is it at the level where like the science end of the game can make a huge difference where, it's a if you're somebody can't just show up in jean shorts with a bunch of cheese and meat and a water bottle and like still compete, like is that angle of the nutrition and the absorption rates and all that, is it making a large difference in people's results, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, if you show up in some jean shorts, you'll definitely get some badass points for sure. Maybe some chafe too. But yeah, I think we're getting there in the trail and ultra scene, definitely in the shorter distances. Like, yeah, fueling would be huge, because a minute can make a win or a loss, right?
Right.
And then in the ultra distances, yeah, it's like having a stomach that you're able to absorb the food that you're eating, things like that. So that can make or break your race for sure. I think there's still like the max gains you can still get with just like your training your gut, things like that. I think we're getting to that point where yeah, it really does matter. Sure.
And I guess, is there drug testing, or how do they ensure that it's fair?
Yeah, that's a whole topic on itself. Yeah, some races are drug testing, definitely the most competitive ones. So in trail and ultra running, like UTMB, Ultra Trail du Mont Blanc, that's the big mega race. It's kind of like the Olympics for trail and ultra runners, where the best of the best come and compete. Instead of like 10 elite runners, there's like hundreds of elite
Right.
runners. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, they do drug testing, which is great. But there's room for improvement, because right now in the trail scene, there isn't out of competition drug testing,
Right.
which really would be the next step. Yeah, so there would be, yeah. my main answer there is there's room for improvement, and right now probably more races should be testing.
Yeah.
And I think we're still at that point in time where a lot of the athletes themselves need to be more educated. As you likely know, like a lot of the supplements that you can buy at the drugstore can be quite contaminated.
Right.
And it's just hard to trust what you're actually ingesting if you're taking even something like vitamin D or some magnesium, it could be contaminated. And that has happened where unfortunately someone who is being honest, someone who like genuinely did not want to cheat, had no intention, but then in their blood something popped up and it could have been from contaminants. So that is something that probably will happen with some growing pains. It may have already happened a few times for some trail runners. And so education is huge, making sure that whatever you are taking, that you really need it. And then if you are going to be doing some tests, then making sure it's third party tested. So you can get.
I guess I'm a little bit ignorant about the sport, but has it got to that level where, there are people that will cheat and, oh, I lost my tracking thing or, oh yeah, oh, I didn't know. Like, is it still pretty chill and calm or you have to kind of think about that stuff?
Yeah, right now I want to I want to say that in North America, it feels pretty clean, but it could be some naiveness on my part. And then at like some of those bigger races where there's more at stake and then when more money comes into play.
Like what's the top purse in a year in say, the biggest race of the year? Are you making $100,000 per race or?
No.
No. Okay. So
No,
there's less incentive, I guess, that
less incentive. Yeah, it's not quite like the marathon road races for sure. No, there's like 10 grand euro. There's I think there's a few races that are definitely higher than that. But there have been people who are caught definitely with not so great things and that they're taking purposely.
I guess it happens in anything. You've been running pretty seriously. I think it looks like 5 or 6 years now, or 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, it feels like still 4 or 5 years, but I've run my whole life, but definitely I've had like periods where I was not running very much.
And do you still feel the joy every time? I know there's always a risk when you sort of almost turn a passion into a career that you can burn out on something that you love. Do you think about that, or has that ever happened to you with any other sports in your life?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. No, I've definitely burned out and, I think that's where it's like a pretty good sign that or like a red flag, orange flag of like, hey, maybe you're training a little bit too much, or maybe you need to inject some cross training, things like that. So yeah, absolutely. I have definitely burned myself out with running for sure. In the last 4 years, there have been those times where it's like, I do not want to put on my running shoes. And that's usually a pretty good sign that like, hey, let's take the things back. Let's hop on a bike or something else. And otherwise you're going down the road towards super overreaching, overtraining, and probably some injury and mental health. Not so bueno. Yeah.
I was looking at your blog. You talk a lot about training in the blog. One of the things that stood out was the hormonal imbalance for I think specifically for women you talk about, but I don't know. That doesn't, I've seen that happen with an athlete that I know in powerlifting, and it seems like people don't talk about that enough, and it can be pretty serious. Was that something that you experienced before you started talking about it, or did you just know somebody, or?
Yeah, no, it's funny because I was reading up on it, researching it. I think in the trail and ultra running world, people are talking about it more and more, hormone imbalances. And then there is a condition called RED-S, or relative energy deficiency in sport. And for myself, I also work with athletes as a coach too. So it's really important to know some of those signs and for informing the athletes that you work with. So ironically, as I was doing all that research and learning more about it, here I was actually walking down that road of, oh crap, like, oh, I've missed my menstrual cycle, and oh crap, like I'm super fatigued, and got actually had experienced weight gain, which is kind of opposite, which I think actually blindsided me a little bit in terms of, you would think that someone who is going down the road of red ass,
Overtraining or whatever.
yeah, which is basically a state where your energy expenditure is higher than what you're taking in. So over time, your body starts to be like, oh crap, like we're in a state of almost like fight or flight, a bit of almost like starvation mode, where your body starts to shut down. And the first thing to go is your reproductive system, because in order to survive, you don't have to have your reproductive system going. So yeah, you can have lots of hormone imbalances for men and women. Yeah, for men, it's usually like really low testosterone. For both genders, it would be like low libido, low energy. You can have lots of funky symptoms like hair growing in different places or hair loss, changes in pigmentation of your skin, and then yeah, weight gain or weight loss, either way. And then for me, actually, it was like crazy intense sugar cravings. And it's just your body saying like, hey, we need more carbs, we need more carbs. So yeah,
It sounds gnarly. And for the listeners, we're going to put your website in the introduction to the pod, so they should go on there and read your blog and start there, because it can happen. It can sneak up on you, right?
Yeah, it can massively sneak up on you. And then by the time it hits you, it's going to take a period of time to get back on track. And depending how long you were in that state, yeah, it might take a year. For some people, it might even take 2 years. And for women, especially if you're on hormonal contraception, it can mask a lot of those symptoms that I was just talking about. And for a lot of women, they're not having their natural cycle, they're not menstruating already. So they might not have a period, and they might not even know it. So as soon as they go off it, they're like, oh, wait, I don't have a cycle. And they may have been in that red S state, or some other condition that they weren't even aware of. So yeah,
it feels like
yeah,
people weren't talking about this 10 years ago as much, or like when you were a young
no,
woman, was this on your radar even, in high school?
no, not at
Yeah.
all, not at
Yeah.
all. In fact, like, yeah, in some regards, definitely in road running, and probably if I had gotten more serious into running as in high school, it was almost like normal for a young girl to not have her period,
Right.
which has huge consequences for bone health. Down the road, lots of cancers have been linked with, yeah, if you don't have a natural cycle. Yeah, there's a lot of issues that down the road can bite you pretty good.
It's good to get the word out. So stay alert, people.
Yeah,
Let's take it back then to when you were young, growing up in Nelson. Do you remember the first sport that you fell in love with, or
yeah,
activity?
yeah. I guess it would actually, yeah, I guess it actually would have been running. I think in elementary school, cross country was quite a big thing.
Right.
So I was super into that. My mom would get me out, and she would either bike beside me, and I'd go for my little 5K run. Yeah, so I was pretty competitive, or just, yeah, there was like an innate talent that
And
was,
did you have brothers and sisters, older siblings or anything, or?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I have an older brother, and classic scenario of an older brother, younger sister, where he would always be beating me up, or he was a very aggressive older brother. He had like a collection of all his weapons and things like that. So of course, the first subject that he would test his weapons on was always me, the younger sister. So
So you
yeah,
know how to defend a nunchuck attack.
Yeah, nunchuck, slingshot, BB guns, whatever, you name it. So I was always running from him or trying to defend myself in some way,
Did
which, yeah, it's quite funny.
did he balance it out? Would he float you Metallica albums and stuff like that when you were, too young, or gangster rap records, or
He probably introduced me to some things a little early for sure. So yeah, the younger sibling effect, which I've since read in a book where younger siblings do tend to actually become more of a competitive athlete later on in life.
huh? Go
So
figure.
yeah.
Obviously, Nelson is a legendary ski town, beautiful lakes all over the place. Was your family big on, camping and getting out into the mountains as well?
Yeah, they were to an extent. So yeah, we definitely got out. My dad always had like a little tin boat and we'd go fishing, things like that, camping. We did do hiking, all that stuff. But I think definitely after high school and into university, I kind of realized like I thought I was this super outdoorsy person, but then you kind of get put in your place and be like, oh, you go for your first multi-day hike and it's like, well, what do I bring? Like, how do I layer for this? And you just have no idea. I think I had like the heaviest gear and was such a Gumby, was borrowing stuff all the time and thinking that I was like, I don't know. I grew up like barefoot. I went to like a outdoor kids camp that was all about survival skills. So like we got taught how to do bows and arrows and what plants were edible, things like that. So I think later on I thought I was like this super
Yeah, survivalist.
survival survivalist, but then yeah, got humbled for sure. So which is good.
But you ended up being a plant biologist, right? So
Yeah,
did you
yeah.
trace did you trace that to that summer camp, or?
Yeah, I think some of that. I remember learning about rattlesnake plantain. It's this plant that's ubiquitous throughout interior British Columbia, and it was good for like bee stings and cuts and things like that. It's this beautiful little orchid that grows in the forest floor. But yeah, after that, into university, I knew I wanted to be a biologist from a young age. Definitely wasn't zoning in on any sort of niche within that. And in university, I went to UVic in Victoria, which is like this lovely university where like you're biking around, there's ocean all around you, and there's tons of great
Yeah,
things
big
to
forest. I went there as well, and it
yeah,
was, I think,
nice.
for us mountain town kids, it's a perfect university to
Yeah,
go to.
absolutely. Yeah. So it's very progressive, lots of green party there and stuff like that. Yeah, and just learning everything I could about biology. And then over time, I kind of slowly moved over to plants. It was like, no, I'm not going to become a plant person. And then, yeah, I definitely did.
And were you skiing and rock climbing through, your high school, college years as well, or did you pick that up after?
Yeah, so skied definitely when I was in Nelson growing up, and then through university, um, those tapered off, and then midway through university, that's when I caught the bug for climbing, and then you kind of go through your gateway climbing experiences from like sport climbing indoors, and then you start going outdoors, and then get into trad climbing, and then alpine climbing. I did a little bit of bouldering on the side, but I'm definitely more of like alpine. Yeah, that yeah, I was obsessed. I could talk about climbing like 24/7 back in the day, and was after bigger and bigger objectives. And I think it was when COVID hit, I had like this big trip planned out of, heading down to Indian Creek, and then I wanted that as my stepping stone towards Yosemite. And then yeah, just was totally in that world for sure. Yeah.
Climbing is, I mean, every one of these outdoor activities is similar, I guess, but I think it's really apparent in climbing where it reaches a point where if you want to keep getting better, it becomes an all-encompassing lifestyle, and you basically have to become a dirtbag climber.
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you're going to hit a ceiling. Did that happen for
Yes.
you, or were you on the cusp of living in a van and being dirty all the time and having bloody hands and tape on your fingers, and then COVID stopped it, or
Yeah, no, you know what you're talking about, don't you? Yeah. No, I think at first there was some years where I was definitely like doing all the sports, running, mountain biking, and climbing. And then it kind of hit me like, oh, if I want to get to that next level in climbing, you really have to master it and put all of your time towards it. So I did just that and had a few trips like in New Zealand. I was living out of my van, just climbing around there. And yeah, it was very much on that cusp of um, exactly that lifestyle that you're talking about.
it's pretty nice, no kids, no responsibilities. What did you how would you pick an objective? Like, would you just sort of flip through a book and something would leap out at you, or how would you decide, or how do you now decide what you're going to do, what your next little mission is going to be to keep things exciting and fun?
Yeah, I think I'm definitely a visual person. So for sure with climbing, if I could see the route before and see how aesthetic or appealing a certain line was, I was a very technical climber. I did love corners. I loved smearing. I loved like little technical crimpy climbs. So if I could like fully see it, yeah, out of a guidebook too, that works as well. But there's something to be said for like seeing the line in person. Like I remember being down I think that was in Smith Rock, and I didn't even think, oh, Smith Rock has some trad, but there's some really beautiful trad lines there in Smith. I forget what the one line was called. It's like Zion or something like that. And it's just like a 5'8" or 5'9", but it's like up this corner. And it was like, oh yeah, I definitely want to do that for sure. Yeah, or like the monkey head over in Smith Rock too is pretty cool. But yeah, so visual with climbing is great. And then with running, yeah, I'm a huge sucker for ridge line running. So if you can see a trail that just like you get up onto a ridge line and then you just totally like fully what's the word? It's just like creme de la creme. You're just running on a ridge line.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like the
you're on
best.
the top of the world.
Yeah, it's the best feeling ever of just, yeah, whether you're in the Rockies or yeah, on the coast, there's some beautiful trails like that, like the House Sound Crest Trail. Here in the
How
Rockies,
long
there's
did it
some
take you to do the House on Crest Trail? Because I've been up there.
yeah, yeah. I was actually attempting to go after the FKT, and it was kind of hilarious. And by that I mean fastest no time. And you just kind of rock up there, and I think it was like a super hot day, and they had just instated like the whole Parks Pass thing, and it was very confusing to try and get up there. And anyways, got there, really hot day. I did not have enough water or anything, and like had read it was super technical. I was like, ah, yeah, technical, whatever. And then I was like, oh yeah, this is super technical. You're just like going up this super rooty, rocky trails and slow going. Yeah, it was around 4 hours, but I remember seeing a lot of the hikers with like huge packs on.
Yeah,
Like,
that was
well,
probably me.
yeah, that looks hard. They were like, well, what you're doing looks hard. I was like, no, man.
Yeah, it's a grind. I made it challenging and took an 8-year-old with me, and
Yeah.
yeah, we didn't even make it.
Oh, man.
There was some
Yeah.
equipment problems and some water failures, and yeah,
Yeah.
we pulled the chute in Lions Bay on day 2.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've got an axe to grind. But you basically probably run all the big trails then in BC, that like the popular ones.
I mean, there's tons that I should also be. Yeah, there's
Right.
a huge growing bucket list always,
Do you
but
have a favorite already, or?
oh, yeah. I mean, House on Crest is definitely up there. The Black Tusk was also up there. I'd love to run more around Garibaldi. Like that area is just stunning. Yeah, around Nelson, there's like a lot of out there ish areas that actually don't have very many trails. So like in the Purcell Mountains, there's a lot of potential for trails. It's a double-edged sword. On the one hand, it's like great that it's so wild and wildernessy and great for grizzly bear habitat. And then yeah, there's just not that many trails. So yeah. But
When you're out there in that kind of terrain, where there just seems to be more and more grizzly bears around, have you ever had an encounter? Have you ever rolled up on an animal that was surprised, or do you bring a bell, or what's your plan out there?
Yeah, usually it's just yelling like a mad woman. Yeah, I have had a few encounters that were a bit scary. One time, probably the worst time, was running the Rockwall Trail, which is a classic in the Rockies, and I was going after the FKT, and it was like right cusp of getting there to winter, so it had just snowed. It was like in October around Thanksgiving, and I was living in Nelson at the time, so you drive up and it's like, well, whatever happens happens, right? And of course some fresh snow, and yeah, you're going pretty fast. So you're, like we were talking about earlier, you're not exactly absorbing like everything in around you. And I was probably bonking, so needed a bit more nutrition. But because it was so cold, my hands were like totally useless. Like they were just like numb little nubs that I could not even get out of gel or anything like that. And I had just passed like one of the campsites, and there was people there, and they're all wearing like down jackets, and here I am, like this runner wearing shorts and like a t-shirt or something that was like kind of ridiculous. So yeah, just passed like a bunch of campers, gives you this like false sense of security. And then within a minute, I had gone over this hill, and as I crested the hill, there's this huge mama grizz and her 3 cubs behind her. And she just looked at me and was like, hell no. And she just started charging. And here I was, just like this total nimwad, like, oh crap, what do I do? Trying to go for I didn't even bring bear spray, because I was like, oh, this is an FKT attempt. I'm trying to go as fast and light as possible. But I did have a bear banger. But the problem with bear bangers is that you have to like take the cap off and screw it in.
It takes a minute for sure.
Yeah, so put that with like totally numb hands that I was like, well, this is useless. I had my phone. I was like, well, I could like throw my phone at her, but here she is running straight towards me. So I stood there for a second, and I was like, no, I'm running. So I just started running, and thankfully, also with my biology background, it's like, this is a mom. She's protective of her cubs. She just doesn't want me near her cubs. Yeah. So like, I'm gonna get out of her space. So it was a bluff charge.
And was it the fastest you've ever run?
Probably, yeah. Yeah. But with only like a few brain cells, I like gave her some time, maybe like 2 to 5 minutes, and then I like poked my head up over the hill again. I was like, okay, I don't see her, and then I just started running again. But yeah, there have been times in my work where I've come across like a male grizzly, and in that scenario, it's like, yeah, you do not want to be there. It's super scary, especially if they're on a kill.
Your work, you're out in the field a lot then?
In the past, yes. I've worked for like Parks Canada as a conservation technician, and then I worked in northern Alberta in the middle of nowhere in boreal forests or all over the place. And that was for a biological institute where we would collect everything living and not living within a grid. You'd be dropped off for a day, and then so I'd be working with one other person, and we'd have like these 16-day shifts in the bush. No shower or anything. You pack all of your food ahead of time, and you just see your field partner and either the heli pilot or no one else. And yeah, so in those circumstances, you're way the heck out there in places where humans may have never been before.
And on the mental side of things, just so you know, it's not that long that you're gonna go, mad trapper from Rat River crazy, but is there a relationship between, that 2 week stints in the bush and then, keeping it together through your other parts of your life, through the sport and stuff? Is there overlap there on the mental game that you need?
Yeah. During that period of time, I was very, well, I think life is almost more simple, when you're camping, and it's so like, yeah, when you have a meal, you're so thankful for it. Food tastes better. Yeah, life is just so much more simple when you're living like kind of in the bush and a bit dirty and things like that. And then we'd come out for like 4 days, and then at that time I was super into rock climbing. So
Right.
immediately we would just drive to Jasper and go rock climb. But yeah, those days I look back with great, warm, fun
As long as you get
memories.
along with your field partner, I guess it's okay.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah. There's definitely some stories there with some of the other people working, but you never knew who you're gonna get. And we had to work hard too.
Yeah.
So
Did you ever find a new species or anything like that when you were doing that?
yeah, I did. Well, it was a new species to Alberta, so that was exciting. It was this water plant species. Yeah, it was cool for sure.
I feel like, people that come from these smaller mountain towns or spend a lot of time like you have in the deep wilderness, we we get a better sense of, why these places need to be protected. And
Mhm.
I know, there's always environmentalism's been on the rise, but also it seems like there's still a ton of terrible stuff going on. What's your take, or how do you personally sort of walk the line in the direction that you want to do? Obviously running's pretty low impact, but everything has an impact, right?
Yeah, no, I've been walking a dilemma. I feel like there's a lot of moral dilemmas within outdoor recreation
Yeah.
because it has an impact, just like extracting wood from forestry, things like that. So, no, I do just question, I used to be very ingrained with it directly through my career as a biologist, but now I have stepped away from that career. So it's how do I still give back to the environment in some way, shape, or form, because it's so near and dear to my heart, and seeing all the devastation across the world, it just totally pains my heart. So yeah, as trail running has impacts, from the trails that it requires to bringing, whether it's a few people to thousands of people for a race, things like that. And whenever we go into these spaces, we are changing it. Our presence does affect, behavior of the grizzly bears, of elk, things like that. Even in Europe, it's like when you go to these big races, all these people on the land were causing erosion. We introduce invasive species on our clothing from our shoes. And there are very easy ways that we can mitigate that or prevent it. But it's just the lack of awareness and the lack of kind of the gumption to actually do something about it.
Right. There's no governing
Um,
body saying like, hey, make sure you scrub your shoes before and after every race and
no,
stuff like that. It's
no.
on the individual organizers.
Yeah, which I think it would be quite easy, as well as just an opportunity for education for any race. So for all the race directors out there, you could just have a 2 to 5 minute spiel on like, hey, here's a wash station, go scrub your shoes, go pick out any of the seeds of your clothing, and we're going to do our best to prevent introducing invasive species. And
Yeah, I
a lot
mean,
of trails for races are going through like where there's been forest fires, things like that. So it could have a pretty big impact for sure.
and some races you're going through a ton of different biozones, I guess, too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I worked with invasive species for, I don't know, 6 years at least. And once you're in that world, It's hard to ever like shut it out of your mind because you can travel across the world and you'll see those same invasive species
Right.
around the world. So it's very easy, whether I'm in Spain or wherever, it's like, oh, yeah. And you can also just tell by how it's growing, like a total monoculture, then it's likely an invasive introduced species. Yeah, and you're running straight through it, so you collect those seeds and spread them around. And there's been studies to prove that that does happen, and so that's unfortunate. And then as well, I think there's like a growing body of science, but still a lot of unknowns is the microplastics. So from our shoes, the tread, from our clothing, nylon, things like that. They do find there's like a ton of microplastics right on trails. And that goes into the soil, and then you've got like everything from the tiny bacteria and fungi all the way up to invertebrates, bugs, things like that. I mean, now in humans, there's like microplastics too, but I think we just don't totally know, or I don't know yet. I have to do some more digging on like what are those downstream effects of having.
Do you think we'll ever evolve? I guess we won't know because it takes a while, but do you think we'll just have to evolve to get used to microplastics? Like it's too late. They're everywhere.
Yeah, it seems that way. Yeah, it's pretty wild for sure.
Well, that's uplifting. Let's shift gears. Do you have any weird fears? Are you scared of snakes or spiders or the dark or heights or anything?
Yeah, what am I afraid of? No, I mean I love spiders. I actually think they're really cute. I do like snakes too. Yeah, what would it be? I don't know. I love sleeping.
You're scared of not sleeping?
Yeah, I suck at sleeping. So
Right.
yeah, exactly. No, we probably have some more, but
What's your go-to meal or treat for yourself that you're like, maybe this isn't really fitting into the training regimen, but I'm gonna have it anyhow because this is my favorite thing. Do you have something like that?
oh yeah. I mean, I probably go through like fads or like it switches from now and again, but my main go-to would probably be like chocolate and peanut butter or something like that, like a peanut butter cup or whatever. It can just be like some dark chocolate dipped in peanut butter. That's that would be my guilty pleasure for sure.
Next time you're in Pemberton, they have a house-made peanut butter cup at the Stay
Whoa.
Wild Health Food Store. You got to hit it up.
Yeah, definitely.
What's the worst job you've ever had?
Ooh, yeah, some of my first jobs. Okay, wait, no, I mean I was a dishwasher, but it was actually kind of fun. I lived in Toronto for a stint. I was like a fish out of water because I had just graduated as a biologist. And what does a biologist do in Toronto? I don't know, but I took on a lot of random jobs because I was like the most poor and most in debt I've ever been, and was like, yeah, afraid to spend a penny. So I took on like random jobs. One I did was house cleaning, which was probably good because it taught me like how to actually clean.
Right.
Which, I never learned how to properly do a bed, like bed sheets and stuff like that, which I could probably use that skill today. But that job, yeah, I don't know, it was a little weird. And then I actually worked as a bike delivery person in Toronto as well, which was super fun, I gotta say. But it was very dangerous. Definitely.
Yeah, it seems pretty high intensity ripping around on the bike. People don't care, don't see.
No, it's chaos. Yeah.
Yeah. You've been getting into writing. How's that been? Obviously, you come from a scientific background, and then to write for, a running mag or on your blog, it's a totally different style. How was that transition for you? Was it easy, or are you still in the midst of it?
Yeah, I think I'll probably always be in the midst of it. But writing is super interesting. Like for any writers out there, I don't know. I mean, I still would call myself a beginner, but there's like the moment that you land on a potential topic, which I always find really exciting. And for me, it's kind of like oh, it's like a passion project. And I've been writing for different magazines or like online with Strava, which has been super just, yeah, being able to research things that I'm interested in. So having that scientific background is a huge asset. But then how do I convey and bridge that gap to like the layperson, or just make that information more accessible, especially when synthesizing, like if I've read 10 or 20 or 30 different articles, and then synthesizing that into like an 1,000-word
Yeah.
blog post. Yeah. Yeah, but writing, yeah, you like come to the first page, your first draft of it, I mean, and that's usually like the super fun part, just like blurt it all out. And then the editing process can be quite painful because you're just combing and combing and combing. You go through like 10 different drafts, and you're like, okay, I think it's maybe ready for, I'll call my editor is my partner, Chris, who's wonderful. He'll read my draft that's almost there and then comb it again another 20 times. So it can be quite an arduous process for sure, but sometimes, usually, the end outcome I feel quite proud of. So
Well,
yeah, it's getting
good for
there.
you, because for sure that's dirty work when you're on draft 7, right? And you've been living with it for so long. And
Yeah,
then do you feel sometimes like I've put so much into this and it's gonna go online and it's gonna get shared for 2 days and then it's gonna disappear? And
yeah, yeah.
I like it's the tech. What's your relationship with technology and social media? Do you feel healthy?
There are moments where it's like, yeah, no, I need to get off of this, and the screen, it's just like um it's too much at times. Like just recently we went on like a little vacation to Hawaii, and I was like, I'm just gonna fully unplug from
Yeah.
everything and just like live in the moment and try to be off screen as much as possible, which felt really nice. Yeah, at the same time, like there is a utility to it, and there's definitely value in it, and I really want my presence online to be positive for people, and like how is this going to make people feel if they read this or if they see this, and am I providing people like practical content, and for me, whether that's like sharing bits of my story or providing some of the science that I'm gleaning and sharing that to people. And yeah, oftentimes that has been received very well. And, when people are putting up their hand and saying, me too, or, oh, I've always wondered about that, then it's like, yeah, okay, this is providing people something to work with and something that can help better their lives.
It seems pretty awesome. I mean, your blog and your articles, it gives you an excuse to continue learning, right? And to do
Mhm.
these deep dives. And then B, yeah, it could help somebody else. So it's kind of
Yeah.
win-win. Do you think the AI is coming for us writers, or do you think about that? Are you worried about it?
Yeah, it's so interesting. I know it's going to be changing things. It will be interesting. Like I've been working with a few people and that are using like Substack, which is like it's totally an online writing Instagram, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting that like I am seeing growth in that area, but it yeah, I can't really answer it yet, but I know it's going to change like
It's it
marketing. It's going to change like yeah,
Yeah,
a
it
lot.
learns fast. With the magazine, I always try it out. Like, can the AI write the intro to the magazine? And
Mhm.
it can't yet how I want it to, but give it 2 months, right? Who knows? What's the best
Yeah.
piece of advice you've ever received?
Ooh, that's a big one. Um, well, I think one was when I first got into being more of a professional athlete. Someone lended their time, which was very nice of them. And I think they were just looking out for any of the new runners on the scene. But he just said, like you don't owe anyone anything. And I think what he really meant by that is like, if people are going to be asking a lot of things of you and potentially taking you for granted, or potentially putting you on their pedestal to raise themselves up, which I think can happen a lot to professional athletes, where and I think just within the world of sports, even like professional photographers, like they probably get that all of the time, where people are using things without permission. And for athletes, yeah, so you really, you do need to take a stand for yourself and your mental health, and even like your online presence. Like that's a lot of your energy and your time, and it's easy to be inundated with way too many projects, which I'm very much guilty of. But yeah, it's sometimes just simplifying things, and yeah, letting yourself breathe, and make sure that you're not taking on too much.
That's a good one. Yeah. Setting a couple boundaries is only going to help people in their lives. And that's another one of the, you continue to work on that and learn it as you go. What,
Yeah.
what do you value most in your friends?
Mm, yeah, genuine authenticity. I think just being able to be real. Sometimes it's gritty, sometimes, it can be ugly or um, emotional, all those things. But being able to get deeper than um, the the early layers of our day to day, and being able to be vulnerable with other people, and yeah, in happiness and in the dark moments too. So yeah.
Is there anything worth mentioning, in either in the sport or the world, or what frustrates you these days, where you're like, there's got to be a better way?
Oh, yeah. A few areas I could probably say I feel that way, but yeah, I think right now, like we just had Earth Day, or I would call it Earth Month. Um, and I really wanted to get people out and in touch with nature, and to be giving back in some shape or form. And it's hard. It's like, okay, I can use like my online platform as a way to try to get people out there, and I see value. It's not just the act of like, whether it's volunteering or providing your services to something other than yourself. It does connect you deeper to that, and that can follow you throughout your life, whether that's like how you vote, or going to a talk that is about politics in your local area, and just becoming more involved, and passing that information on to, whether it's your kids or your friends or your family. It has that ripple effect. So yeah, I would love to get all outdoor recreationalists to give back, at minimum 1 hour of their time a year. Yeah. And I don't see that right now. And it kind of, it makes me sad. It's like, how can we get people more involved to not just, I think outdoor recreationists have this huge opportunity to be leaders in the space, and to be role models for everyone else. And we're the people that are going out there, and we're using these spaces, and it's very utilitarian. It's like, I'm going to go to this beautiful place, this beautiful lake that someone posted on this Instagram. And you get there and it's awesome, and you soak it all in, and that's great. And it's like, it connects you to nature. That's all awesome. But like, can we take it a step further? Can we be those people that are like, all right, I'm going to do some research and how I can, reduce my carbon footprint? Or how about the water? Like right now, Alberta is facing a massive drought, and it just feels so reactionary. It's like, why aren't there already water restrictions? And I'm just learning about like this huge development in the Bow Valley where Canmore might be doubling in size. And I'm like, what the F? Like, this is insane. Yeah. Like Canmore already is digging into the water table, and it's like, yeah, Like, what are we doing? But
It's
anyway,
crazy because there are those solutions all over. Like Australia has been dealing with water shortages forever. And
yeah,
like I know people that'll shower with a bucket in the bottom of their shower and then use that to water their plants, right? And stuff
yeah,
like that's
yeah,
common.
yeah.
I did some quick math there.
Mhm.
I don't think 1 hour a year is a lot to ask.
No.
There's 8,766 hours in a year. So
Hmm.
I think all of us folks out there could at least give 1 or 2 hours a year, even if it's picking up garbage on your own street, right? But
Yeah,
or definitely on the trail if you see garbage, get it
yeah.
out of there. Do you guys have a problem with the dog poo bags in Canmore?
Yeah,
Like
I think,
we're inundated with
yeah,
those things out here.
yeah. I think you guys might have it a little bit more, but I did some plogging last week and we definitely noticed a few of
Yeah.
those.
What
Yeah.
are let's go out on a bit of a higher note. What are you most excited about these days? What's coming up for you? What this is. I know there's a few big races. You're going to that big race in Europe in August. What makes you super stoked these days?
Yeah, I think whether it's meeting up with my team on the North Face, there's just so many amazing athletes. A bunch just won the canyons endurance races just recently this past weekend. So meeting up with them, they're all super inspiring people, and yeah, that being on the North Face team, they support you not only in your racing but also in doing expeditions. So it's just kind of like crafting up some cool ideas, figuring out who you can do it with, things like that.
And
I always want
are
to,
you crossing over into mountaineering and climbing still too then with the other North Face team people?
yeah, well, I was just gonna say, yeah, it's like, how can I bridge like ultra running and climbing or skiing and endurance um, pursuits all together? Yeah, so that's the cool part, is that there are a lot of multi-sport athletes on the North Face team. So it's, yeah, just dreaming up some wacky ideas in whatever way. Got a few on the back burner, so hopefully can bring those to life. But yeah, the main goal for this summer is just like be healthy and have fun. Last summer I was injured all summer, so I was mostly biking and I couldn't climb, which was a bummer. But yeah, I'm just getting back into the gym now, just getting some strength on the chicken arms, and then yeah, I think the summer it's just such a like brings life to everyone, and it's just
Was that your
yeah.
first big stint out with an injury, or have you had to get through that before?
That I guess I've had like two or three. Definitely the first one was probably the most like shattering. And I think over time you kind of learn to grieve a bit better. Not like the full, I mean, I always wallow a bit for sure, but I think I've matured and running isn't life. It can be other things too. And that's the beauty of being a multi-sport athlete, is you can be more resilient, and whether it's biking or skiing or climbing or I even took up like pack rafting and bike rafting, which is a crazy, wild, cool sport. Definitely great in British Columbia. You can like bike up a river and then paddle down it. And then, like, how about we throw some fly fishing in there too? All these cool things. So yeah, there's just different ways to explore and get out there. Yeah, so lots of exciting stuff to try out, whether
All right.
injured or
Well,
not.
when's your next race? I see here there's one in June in California, but is there anything before that?
No, yeah, I'm gonna be pushing things out a little bit because I did have a niggle slight injury this spring. So yeah, I'm just focused on being healthy, and then whether it's July, I'm hoping to be at Speed Goat down in Salt Lake area, and then hoping to be at UTMB for the 100 mile, the big one. So yeah, exciting
Awesome.
stuff.
Well, we're definitely cheering for you, and yeah, everybody out there, wash your shoes after every mission. Like,
Yes.
let's awesome. Jasmine, thanks so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you so much. Have a great day.
Okay, there we have it. Are you inspired? Are you ready to get out there and run, or climb, or bike, or paddle, or just have fun? Multi-sport is a secret, according to Jazmine, and I kind of agree. So thanks, Jazmine, for that conversation, and thanks to you, mountain lifers, for lending us your ear holes and your attention for the past hour. I know it's an economy of attention out there, and I'm always grateful when you give us some of yours. On that note, all the summer issues of the print magazines will be dropping in the next few weeks, so keep an eye out for those if you're in one of the mountain life regions. And if you haven't moved to a mountain life region yet, you can always find these exciting tales of adventure and tons of incredible photos on the website, mountainlifemedia.ca. That's it for me. Big love, as always, to Adrian Gendro and Sharai Rules for the music and the voiceover off the top. Thanks again to you. Summer's on the horizon, mountain lifers, so get out there and get running, or do whatever it is you love to do. Just remember, when it comes to your taxes, you can run, but you can't hide. Be vigilant, be strong, be kind to each other, and leave the campsite better than you found it.